I am honored to present my mentee, Illyana, a remarkable ninth grader who joined the Magic program with a clear purpose to explore the world of STEM and to get a better understanding of what the careers in science and technology are really like. She has already set her sights on becoming a chemist one day, and from everything I've seen, she's well on her way. Illyana's passion for science shines through in everything she does. She earned a science award in eighth grade for having the highest grades in her class, and she continues to challenge herself with curiosity and commitment. Despite a packed schedule filled with schoolwork, extracurriculars, and even a lead role in the school production this year, Illyana made time for magic and really showed up. She dove into a totally new area for her, data and analytics. And she didn't just dabble in it, she learned key data concepts and statistical methods that will serve her well as a future scientist. Outside the classroom, Illyana's interests are just as impressive. She plays tennis, takes spin classes, sketches, volunteers, and babysits. She's also deeply inspired by her older sister, Leora, a scientist and researcher living in Israel, who has conducted research on cemeteries and biology. Illyana looks up to her not just for her scientific accomplishments, but also for being a great mom and role model. Illyana looks up to her sister, and I wouldn't be surprised if someday younger students are saying the same about Illyana. It's been a joy to watch her grow and take on new challenges with such enthusiasm. I'm incredibly proud of the effort she's put into this project, and I know you will be too. Please join me in welcoming Illyana.
Hi, my name is Eliana Spitz, and my project is called The Rise Factor. Next slide, please. My mentor. My mentor's name is Ayala Cohen. She works at Salesforce, which is a large tech company, and she's a specialist solution engineer. She specializes in data and AI. Data analysis is one point that my project is focused on, and she's helping me in that area. She lives in Far Rockaway, New York, and she loves to read, bake, and run, and she's an amazing mentor, and I'm really happy I got to work with her on this project. Next slide, please. My project. My project is seeing how the amount of time rising impacts the density of bread. It's a food science experiment, and I chose it because I've had it where a few times I've made challah dough in school and I forgot it in my locker, and then I bring it home the next day and I wasn't able to bake it. So I was wondering, how long can you still rise in the pan before it's risen for too long? So my hypothesis is that after 7 hours of rising, will have risen for too long, and the dough wouldn't smell so good, and it wouldn't be suitable for eating. Next slide, please. This project, researching, has taught me so much about the conditions to bake bread and data analysis. I baked the bread, and I measured the weight, volume, and the length and the depth, and calculated the density. And then I did data analysis. For the future, if I had more time for this project, then I would have baked more bread for a resin different amount of time, which would help with to make it more like covered more area and go in more depth about data analysis. This project is also really practical because it will help people in the kitchen that they'll be able to stay less time in the kitchen and bake the best bread. Next slide, please. My magical experience. Overall, I had a really amazing experience. I had a few challenges that I faced. That when I was baking my last batch of bread, I had very little flour left, and I thought I wasn't going to have enough. Data analysis was also a little bit tricky because I really had no idea what it was about, and there were a lot of confusing words that I didn't really know. Measuring was also a challenge because I had to measure everything really exact, and it took a lot of time. Also, when I was uploading the video of my demo, it took a lot of time, and it was really hard to figure out how to do it. Um, a few highlights of my experience was baking my bread because I really enjoy baking, doing data analysis and seeing the results because I love to see like what's gonna happen and like if I'm actually right, if what I think. And going to Apron Master's kitchen with my mentor right before perm, it was really an amazing experience and we got to bond and I love baking hamantaschen and it was really good. And I've learned many lessons. A few of them are how to analyze data, that different types of data need different types of analysis because before I just thought they were like all the same. Also, I learned that if you leave your bread dough out in the pan for over 8 hours, it won't taste so good and it'll be pretty dense. It'll also be pretty hard. Next slide, please. For my experiment, I baked many small loaves of bread, and each batch was split up into 4 different pans, and each pan had 4 loaves inside. In the end, I rose for 12 different times, and once they came out of the oven, I measured them, and with the measurements, I calculated the density. To aid with my experiment, I also learned how to do data analysis. I learned how to organize my data in a way that's easy to read. I learned many different data analysis words and what they mean. And I learned how to make scatter plot charts on Google slide sheets. Next slide, please. So this is some of my data. First, after recording the different times, I measured the weight, the length, the height, and the depth. And with those, Google Sheets was able to calculate the volume and the density. At first, I started and I was measuring the weight in ounces, but then it wasn't so good for data analysis. So I switched to grams. Next slide, please. So these are a few of the data analysis words that I learned, what they mean, and how they apply to my project. So kurtosis. Kurtosis is the measure of how steep or flat the peak of a curve is. Typically, kurtosis is like a bell curve, but for my project, it was negative, meaning that's the opposite. I looked into kurtosis because I was wondering why it was negative because nothing else was negative. So that was interesting. And regression analysis, it's a statistical technique for examining the relationship of variables and how they impact each other. And it could be used to predict the data. So I have 2 different charts, one for the loaf and one for the slice. The loaf is more accurate here, and for other things, just because slice is really harder to get the measurements of. Next slide, please. So the 95% confidence level. It means with 95% confidence, I could say that if I do this experiment many times over, the data will fall between like 2 different points. So at first, since my data isn't a straight line, my confidence level was really low. So I thought maybe split the data into 2 different sections, first going from up to down, then going from down to up. And that really raised my confidence level. You can see here how the points are really close together. Next slide, please. This is my demo of me making a chart. I'm not sure if it's so clear. Right. Okay, so we mostly did linear regression. So you go to the thing and you choose linear regression. And for the X and Y values, you just select them and put them in the places. And then you'd have to go down to where like you want to put the chart. And next to my data, you see other things and charts that I made already. We use the Excel Miner tool pack to do all this data analysis on Google Sheets. So there you see the chart with all the data points and a few extra things written on the side with calculations. Next slide, please. So what I found, my results, I found that after roasting the dough for around 235 minutes, 3 hours, and 55 minutes, it will start to be really dense. It will start to get more dense. And won't taste as good. It will still be suitable for eating and after another like 2 hours, but once it gets past that point, it'll be pretty dense and the dough will get a little bit hard. The bread. And if you're using the same recipe and all that stuff, you'll probably get the exact same results. Next slide. So during my experiment, I had a few questions pop up in my head. So I looked at the bread after coming out of the oven, and I saw that the color kept on getting darker and darker. So I was wondering, so a fun fact is, did you know that the longer the bread dough rises, the faster it will bake? So I didn't know it. So I searched it up and and it's because the longer the period the dough rises, the more gas bubbles the yeast produces, and that essentially pre-cooks the bread, so it needs less time in the oven. Next slide, please. So thank you.
What is the ideal rising time for the tastiest bread?
So the recipe I used wasn't the best, so it wasn't so tasty, but 3 hours and like 55 minutes was the best. Yeah. What? So the question is, what was my best experience of my project? So I really enjoyed the baking because I love to bake. It took a long time, but it was really fun. Any other questions? Yeah.
It's a, is anyone asking there?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep, we have one to make a difference in terms of rising time if you like punched it down and it had to rise again.
So I didn't do that because I didn't want there to be like more different variables. So I decided to just measure it, put it in the pan, and then let it rise and then bake it. So I didn't have like more things to measure. Oh, she asked, like, does it make a difference if you punch down the dough before putting it in the pan? Okay.
And do we have any questions virtually?
Yes, this is Sabrina. Congrats for the presentation. It was great seeing the results of your experiment and your baking. After going through this process, this more scientific process of baking, did you start thinking about all these questions while cooking other things too?
Yes, I started thinking about all these questions while baking because I came out of the oven and I was like, did I leave it in for longer? Which I didn't, because I thought I like messed up because it was just getting darker and darker. So I wrote down the question and then figured it out after.
Awesome. I hope it will also help you be a better cook in the future.
Yeah. Mhm.
Any other questions either virtually or in person? Oh, can you have one?
Were there any other questions that came up while you were doing it that you'd like to look into in the future?
She asked if there are any other questions that I would like to look into in the future. I do think there was one other question, but I forgot it, so I couldn't write it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.